Hello and welcome to Local Gov Strategy TV. Today I'm joined by Steve Beynon, who's the Chief Executive of the Isle of Wight Council. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
Steve, the Isle of Wight has been a true pathfinder in terms of the big society through the creation of the Eco Island. How did you set the vision for this?
Well, the vision was set by a whole range of partners, both across the public and the private sector, way back in 2008. So actually, whilst it's been acclaimed as big society, it predates many of that thinking and terminology. And this was about establishing what was the unique selling point of the island in terms of what we could do for ourselves as a distinct community, which has a whole range of strengths and natural resources, and also addressing some of the concerns and issues that the population of the island faces.
Say that giving ownership of services to the local community and to the voluntary sector to be a particular issue. How have you dealt with that on the Isle of Wight?
Well, it hasn't been an easy journey, but we do have a very strong voluntary tradition amongst the community on the island. We have a whole range of small charity-based organisations, voluntary sector organisations, and many of those already doing very valuable things for people within the community. So it was a natural step. Quite clearly, there was some suspicion that this was all about budget saving, and that's why we made very clear that we weren't just handing services over and walking away. This was about a support infrastructure that enabled those services and activities to continue, but being led and run by the community without, if you like, the dead hand of local government bureaucracy from behind them. So it's about moving yourself into an enabler role and a commissioner role, and not actually determining exactly what they did, but agreeing what the starting point was, but enabling organisations to fly thereafter.
You mentioned enabling and commissioning. The public may not particularly understand that, and they might actually think it's more abrogating responsibility for providing services. What's your response to that?
No, because you set the standards, you agree what you want to achieve. And so, for example, 2 years ago, we moved away from the traditional grant awarding, and a lot of bodies around the country look to their local authority for them to give grants for a good thing, and we scrapped that and we said that's not a good way forward to move. What we need to do is say to organisations, look, these are the needs, we'd like you to bring forward ideas and suggestions for how you'd meet those needs and what you think the cost is, and then we will award you a sum of money to enable you to carry that out. This year we've got about £1 million, which is going to organisations across the island, most of them charity, voluntary sector organisations, where we've identified the need, they've brought forward a proposal. We're still responsible for that public money and the outcomes that they do or they don't achieve, but we're not telling them how to do it. And it's moving away from that old model of yes, this is what needs to be done and this is how you'll do it and we'll give you a grant to do it. Or we'll give you a grant because you're a good thing, but we're not really sure we're going to check up on whether it makes a difference or not. And that has actually been quite a revolutionary model because it's putting funding into the voluntary sector, but through a much more transparent and clear route in terms of outcomes and difference for the lives of people on the island.
And are the services that are now being delivered meeting your expectation and those of the public?
And beyond in some cases, because bearing in mind the age profile of the people who live on the island, we've got a number of people who have previously retired who now have voluntary opportunities to work in a community basis, whether that's a community library or they're driving a community bus or they're part of a friends association that is going to take forward a previous facility that the council run, and having much more say in terms of the facilities that are available. And if we take the theatre in Shanklin, that now has local business support because they realise that tourism is a key element of that, and they're now offering a far greater range of nationally known performers than ever when we were trying to run it as a council, because quite frankly I'm not sure that local government is good at running theatres or organising those sort of cultural events.
You've talked about the movement of services to community organisations, to the voluntary sector. What support are you actually giving the organisations that are taking on responsibility for providing those services?
That support can come in a range of forms. So, for example, in terms of the community libraries, we've put the technology in for people to be able to register their books in and out electronically. In terms of the water pool that's on one of our seafronts, we're providing some capital for them to upgrade the facility, and also we've transferred the cafe next door to it, which gives them an income stream. In other cases, we've provided money for the community bus scheme to enable the local bus provider to take the responsibility for the training of the community drivers. And in other cases, we've agreed what you might call a sort of a peppercorn rent or a peppercorn deal with some agreement as to how that's going to improve employment opportunities or attraction opportunities to support the tourism industry. So it comes in different forms. But as I said earlier, it's not about handing it over and walking away.